Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Human Side of Marketing. I'm your co-host, Chris Ingo, here with Kurt Stockwell from Well-Dressed Walrus. Kurt, it's episode 7.
It is.
It is. And last time we talked about in episode 6, empathy and authority. And I'm excited because we kind of get to talk about that today a little bit, but in the form of sales calls. The title of our episode is, do you play the hero or the guide in your sales calls?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
I think this is a topic that a lot of times people, sales calls can be icky for people sometimes.
Right. Yeah, they can. And when I think of really what I want to talk about today, rather than more of a sales call, is more of like a discovery call.
Yeah.
I guess what I would call it.
I like that reframe, by the way, just because it shifts the focus from like trying to force a sale to like trying to understand who we're talking to.
Right. So what we're going to talk about is not necessarily cold calling.
Yeah.
Or knocking on doors. We're talking about when somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I'd like to learn more about what you do.
Yeah.
They fill out a form on your website and schedule a call. And so you're going to do that initial discovery call with this individual. What do you do?
Right.
I think a lot of times we shoot from the hip, right? We just get on the call and go, hey, how'd you hear about that? How'd you hear about us? And what do you need? And we don't, I think in business, a lot of times we shoot from the hip, and that actually can be very destructive when you are having an initial contact with somebody who you don't know them and they don't know you.
Yeah. I also think from the more successful you become, the more you may have to outsource this initial discovery call.
Right.
It's possible. And if you're shooting from the hip, you have nothing that's reproducible. You can't replicate your system in someone else. So like having a process like this is super good for just the system side of things too. So
Right. So I just kind of wanted to talk about what we do over here at Well-Dressed Walrus and how what we do actually follows the StoryBrand brand script.
Nice.
And kind of unpack that today.
I love it. Well, how do you start? So when somebody reaches out and says, I want to learn more about what you do, where does the whole thing start? The first step?
Yeah. So if somebody's filling out a form on our website, or they contact us via our calendar schedule link, or leave a voicemail and want to connect, or shoot me an email, a lot of times you can figure out enough about who they are or what company they're from and do a little Google stalking or a little we all do it, right? And so I do a search and I just kind of learn a little bit about the company. I mean, I don't spend hours and hours trying to figure out, what their main revenue stream is and how long they've been around, and go search media links and all those kind of things. Literally a Google search. A lot of times you can get a link to their Facebook page. And then I'll go to their website and review the website, just kind of learn a little bit about who they are.
Right. Especially if you can find how it applies to what you sell. Like you guys at Well-Dressed Walrus work with websites. So if you can go figure out kind of what is their marketing presence, what do they do online, it gives you some context for perspective on what you could help them with.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it's important.
There's definitely times where we've done this and you land on their website and go, yikes, they need our help really bad. Yeah. Or you land on the website and go, hey, actually, this isn't too bad. Right. I wonder, what they want to talk about. And so, so you can, if you have a little bit of knowledge behind you, I think that always makes people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Okay. So step 1 is we do some pre-call planning, some researching. What's step number 2?
Step number 2, and this might sound kind of cheesy, but I would almost kind of write out the dialogue that you want to start with. And so I'm literally just going to read the dialogue that we start with. Yeah. And you can kind of make it your own. So now keep in mind, you don't want to read this and sound like a robot, right? Yeah. But maybe practice it in front of the mirror, or use this as maybe you turn it into bullet points and things that you want to kind of make sure you hit as you're kind of introducing yourself. And really one thing that you can do to make the call go well from A to Z, from soup to nuts, is tell the customer or their potential customer, hey, this is the type of call we're going to have and what to expect. This is what we're going to do today. Right. So literally, this is what we say. Thanks so much for your inquiry. I'm excited to know more about your business and what goals you have trying to achieve your marketing. Now, that sounds very canned, and so I kind of make it my own as I talk to them. So here's how I'd love to spend our time. First, I'm going to ask some questions to get to know all about your business and what challenges you're facing. and with your current marketing. From there, we'll chat about how those challenges are affecting your business. Then we'll discuss what we need to do to resolve those issues and get your marketing back on track. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And yeah, sounds good. Great. Cool. Let's dive in. So again, kind of make that your own. And the pieces that you want to really kind of key in on is, hey, I want to learn about you, and I want to learn about the challenges that you're facing. And I want to really understand, how does that affecting your business?
Right.
And then let's discuss, what we could do to help you succeed.
Yeah, it's good.
And then you've got permission. Does that sound good? Cool. Let's move forward. And then the next thing that you need to do is now the story brand script. If you've been following our podcast or our video podcast for the last few episodes, you'll know that a lot of what we do in our marketing is based upon the story brand script. And the story brand script starts with identifying a character and understanding what problems that character has, and then you coming in as the guide to help that character or that hero accomplish their goals and lead them to success. So that same narrative, even for all of your marketing, you can use that same narrative for your discovery call. So the next piece is discovering who's the character and what external and internal problems that they have. So literally, this is where you kind of just ask some questions and shut up. So
step one was we kind of set expectations, right? Like we came in and we said, hey, listen, hey, thanks for being on the call. Here's how it's going to go. Does that sound good? They say yes. And now we're moving into, okay, let's kind of ask some questions of the person on the phone.
Right.
And that's where we are now.
Right. So literally the next thing is, tell me a little bit about your business. What do you do?
Yep.
And so they tell you about what you do. And how do you, okay, that's really interesting. A lot of times, adding little things like that is so interesting. And it's easy for me because I actually am genuinely very interested in what our customers do. I've always been a curious person. And so when I'm learning about stuff that I had no idea businesses actually did,
right.
I love that, or learning about industries that I kind of knew about, but I'm learning more about. I think that's fun. But okay, so that's really interesting. Tell me, how do you best serve your clients with what you do? And sometimes I'll get back, well, what do you mean? Well, this is what you do, but how do you serve your clients? How do you get this product to them, or how do they get your product in their hands? Yeah. We do it this way. Now, again, this is not the Constitution or the 10 commandments of how to do a discovery call. You make it your own. Third question we ask is, what's the biggest challenge you're facing with your marketing messaging today? Now, again, we're a marketing company and we help people clarify their message. So what's the biggest challenge you're facing with X?
Right. And
how is that affecting your business? And this is where you really get an opportunity to, set it up as just this big softball that you're going to knock out of the park. If you've got a solution that will help them, when they go, the problem is this, and it's affecting my business in that way, then they're almost like begging you to solve their problem. Right. And it's also nice too, again, because you're listening to them and you're wanting to know where they're coming from, rather than just jumping on their back and screaming in their ear everything that you can do for them.
Yeah. Good. That's a powerful question. I know that a lot of times in sales, people can kind of vomit out like, here's all the things we do, but to start with questions like, tell me about your business. Where are you stuck? How is that affecting your business? Really gets them to not only feel safe with you, but also to help them sort of see what maybe they haven't been able to see before. They actually start looking at the problem and they go, wow, like this, I didn't realize this is a problem, but now I'm embarrassed. I'm actually telling you this, but this is where I'm stuck.
Right.
And now we can actually move forward to create a solution where if they didn't acknowledge that, it'd be really hard to actually get them to the other side of solving that.
Right, exactly. And then, again, make this your own, but go deeper if you feel like you can go deeper with some other questions and maybe kind of unpack those things that maybe they didn't recognize how it was affecting their business. Or maybe go into that in the kind of the next meeting you have. Again, this is kind of a discovery call process.
If you thought of your entire length of the call, what % do you think of that call would be spent in asking questions? Like half the time?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, to me, it's just as much time as necessary.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are like, they just want to hurry up and get off the phone. even though they're just like that type of person. It's not that they're a bad person or that they don't want to give you the time of day, but they want to kind of just see if you're worth talking to, right? So sometimes that discussion can be kind of really quick, and other times it can be a little longer. And I don't really in my calendar I try to give myself enough time where I'm not up against the next thing, especially if I'm doing a discovery call, because the last thing you want to do is go, well, I gotta go, so can we cut this short? So that's a hard question to answer, is regarding the percentage of time, as much as is necessary. But
that's a good answer.
What you do want to do is leave time for you to express empathy and show authority.
Which would be actually the next step, right?
Yeah, actually the next step. And this is what that big softball I was talking about. So they've put this big softball up there of, this is how, this is the problem that's affecting my business. Maybe even they're telling you how it makes them feel. And this is where you come in and show empathy. Man, I understand how frustrating that can be. I don't deal with that personally in my business to that specific degree, but I'm a small business owner too. And I know how frustrating it can be to feel that way. A lot of times the external problem might be very different from what you experience, but the internal feelings are the same.
Listen, what you just said is so important. Like, if people should just pause, rewind, and listen to that again, because you're right. Like, and the reason it's so important is because it would be easy to try to fake empathy and be like, do the feel, felt, found. Like, I know how you feel. That must suck to feel that way. But if you fake the empathy, people will end up smelling that insincerity. So the way to find the empathy is exactly what you said. Like, it may not be the same external problem, but it's the same internal experience when you face a problem. And that's where you access empathy, is what happens inside.
Right.
So you guys should just rewind that, listen to what Kurt said again, and then catch up, because that is the key to getting that empathy.
Right. But again, you can't get there. And Chris, this is another thing that I want people to maybe pause and rewind this. Ready?
Yeah.
Get ready to pause and rewind this. The next thing is, you can't get there until you do the character identification portion of it. What problems do they have?
Right.
Now, where people are maybe ready to jump into the authority and the empathy, because they realize, okay, I know that's important. I know I need to do that, but I haven't asked enough questions to the customer or the person to recognize that I actually am listening to them. And so you've listened to them. Again, that big softball's out there, and you're going to knock it out of the park. And you can say something like, I understand how frustrating it can be. In fact, most of the clients I've worked with have come from the same kind of issue or something similar. And this is how we've helped them. And my job, this is literally what I have written down in my kind of guide for what I say, is my job is to help clients identify the root cause of the issues they face with their marketing and provide catered solutions that resolve their issues and pave the path for them to grow their business. It sounds like I can help you. I can definitely help you resolve some of those problems and get your business back on track. And this is where, again, this is a discovery call. So literally the next piece of it is, you're going to give them a plan. Okay. So the plan is, I'd love to talk through a few options for you on how we can work together to help you solve some of those problems. The first thing I'd like to do is in my case, the first thing I like to do is help you clarify your message. And we're going to use a very powerful framework to do that. And then depending on what deliverables we determine are necessary, we'll either revise your existing content, or maybe maybe you need to completely start over. And so that's kind of the guide. This is how we'll do it. And again, this is your own. Make this your own. But this is where you give them the plan. This is what I'd like to do to help you. Now, a lot of times what I do is I like to get face-to-face with people. If I can't get face-to-face with somebody and I know that I've got a little bit more time, I'll just kind of go straight into exactly what we'll do to help solve their problem. But what I like to do is say, does that sound interesting to you? Does that sound like it would be helpful to you? And the last piece of this is a call to action. Now, this is, again, following the framework of any great marketing, is at the end, you wrap it up with a call to action. So my call to action on this discovery call in most cases is, could we set up a time where we could dig into this a little bit deeper, where maybe I could come to your office, or you could come to my office, and we could talk about this. We could look at your website, look through your website together. You could maybe bring some of your other marketing collateral where you feel like you're stuck, and we'll dig into this together.
Yeah.
So that's the call to action, that last piece of it that I like to do, again, on the discovery call.
Yeah, that's so great, because every end of one phase of the relationship should lead to the next. The last thing you want to do is like spend this kind of time to get to know somebody and then just be like, well, thanks for your time today. Have fun. Have a good life. Good luck with that problem you told me about. Like, maybe this sounds obvious, but I think sometimes inviting them to if you don't know what the next stage is,
right,
then you're in a hard time inviting them to the next stage. And sometimes, depending on your product, the next stage is to actually purchase. Right. And sometimes the next stage of your product isn't to purchase. It's actually to go further into like, let's meet and talk about what this could look like, so that, because they're not ready to buy it yet. It depends on how warm that person may be to what you're offering.
Right. So I think the process of nurturing a relationship usually is the length of it. A lot of times is based upon your price point. Our price point to build a full-blown website, a 6 to 8 page website, is about anywhere from $6,500 to $8,500.
Yeah.
So that's a big chunk for people to agree to part with.
Right.
And they want to know that the person that they're partnering with to do that has their best interest in mind. So I'm totally comfortable with nurturing that relationship a little bit longer. Now, if you've got a product that's a low barrier to entry, it's a low cost, maybe even this discovery call could be even shorter, and people are like ready to buy immediately because maybe your price point's low enough that it's not as big of a risk, and that's okay.
Or maybe the urgency is big enough where it's like my pipes just burst, like my kitchen is flooding.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What's your problem? My house is flooding. Well, let's take care of that.
Your discovery call probably should be nowhere close to as long as what we experienced it, or we just talked about. If they're like, yeah, my basement's flooding, how about you just get over here?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb. If you've got a product that has a high price point, you need to get in your head that the nurturing relationship of bringing somebody on might be a little longer than just one phone call.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Actually, that's really good, because I think sometimes people can investigate their sales process, their sales funnel. And like, if you look at what are you nurturing the relationship enough so that the sale is self-evident? Like when people go like, they spend enough time with you, and actually, this is really good too. You have delivered enough value through the relationship where they're like, man, if I don't hire them, I have to do this alone. Like, I don't know, man. Like, these guys have been so good to me. They've given me so much value, and they haven't even asked for sale, right? Like,
what I love about this process is, there's most businesses since it's 2018, most businesses have had 1 or 2 or 6 iterations of their website. And so for what we do, I've had many people go, I've never had anybody ask me that question before in regards to building my website. Mm-hmm. Because where we're different than a lot of people is a lot of competition is we're digging in hard on the messaging and the design and all the whiz bang and all the ones and zeros and all that stuff. That is important, but all of that is driven by the messaging and the content.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of, in our industry anyway, a lot of websites fall flat is because that messaging has never been unpacked. And so when I can come in and do this discovery call and ask some really poignant questions, then people go, wow, I've never had anybody ask me that before. And I'm sure that in your business, whatever dialogue that you can create using a tool like this, you could probably, again, put those softballs up there and knock them out of the park. And people like, wow, I've never had anybody ask me that question. I've worked with people in your industry for the last 15 years.
We talked about that in early episodes of the show where it's like, you can have a beautiful website, but if people get there and it doesn't pass a grunt test, like they don't know what you're saying and they check out, they bounce.
Yeah.
Like what your website says and how it is empathetic and pierces through like confusion, like that's super important. So
exactly.
Really important. Yeah. This is great, Kurt. I love this 5-step process to a discovery call and kind of figuring out what people need. Is there any last minute wisdom or advice you want to give people as it relates to improving their discovery calls?
Yeah, I'll just kind of go through the list again, just to so you can kind of bullet point it. So you're going to do a pre-call plan. We're going to do a little research. You're going to, in the next step is discovering the character and their external and internal problems. Step 3 is the guide, and you're going to show empathy and authority. Step 4 is you're going to give them a plan. And step 5, you're going to call them to action. If you can put those 5 things into your discovery calls, you'll make more sales.
And do it in that order.
Yeah, do it in that order. Yeah, exactly. Do it in that order. Again, you can't get to the empathy if you really don't understand the problem.
Yeah, that's so good. I love it, Kurt. More value. You just keep giving and giving. I love it. It's so good. If people want to learn more about Well Dressed Walrus or what you guys can help them do with their website, like what's a great place to connect with you?
You can go to welldressedwalrus.com, or you can go to clarifymywebsite.com. Again, clarifymywebsite.com. There you can click on a calendar tool link and schedule a time with me, and let's connect and clarify your message so you can get more sales.
I love it. So good. Kurt, another great episode. Thank you. We will catch you in the next one.
Thanks, Chris.